Yo, welcome to Hard Pass. I am your host, Jacques Slade. Today on the show, we've got actual Kyrie sneaker news, the return of a legend to the swoosh, KD4 retros, the week's hottest releases, and of course, a Hard Pass. All right, let's talk Kai again. Come on. Y'all know what we have to start the show off with. Kyrie Irving has officially signed with Anta. According to the boardroom, the deal is for 5 years. It includes position of chief creative officer, the power to recruit and sign athletes and collaborators in other fields to the brand, and open youth camps in China and the US. Kai will begin the 23-24 NBA season wearing the Anta Shockwave 5 before transitioning to his signature collection starting in the first quarter of 2024. There's a lot of chatter about the deal itself, but there is one detail that I think will be of most interest to people who watch this show. Anta is coming to the US, and not just in a Klay Thompson signature Antas or in a Champs location in Northern California for a few weeks kind of way either. According to a Shams tweet, the deal will bring a level of manufacturing to the United States to kickstart Anta's process to fully distribute in the US. That's big if true. It's an ideal scenario. We are going to see Kai's anti-signature shoes not only in boutique stores or pop-up shops in Dallas, but in Foot Lockers and other big-name retailers across the country. Maybe. Right now, it sounds too good to be true if I'm going to be honest, but hey, I appreciate the effort. Anything that can disrupt the sneaker market in a big way would be welcome right about now. I'm just a little skeptical it can happen at the level that Kai experienced with Nike, at least in America. Oh, but Kai's different, you might be saying. He's going to break through and sell Antas to his American fans. Yeah, see, I heard that same when Dwayne Wade signed with Li Ning over a decade ago. He had the youth camps and the power to sign players too. D'Angelo Russell? Prior to two-time NBA finalist Jimmy Butler balling out on Li Ning these past few years, Russell was the biggest name Wade recruited to the brand. Yeah. Anyways, over 60 players wore Nike Kyries last season. Who among them both moves the needle, sorry, D-Lo, and would be willing to follow Kai to Anta right now? Back then, Wade talked about bringing Li Ning to the States and selling his shoes at Foot Locker. Tell me when was the last time you saw the way of Wade's getting wide distribution here? Exactly. And if you think Dwayne Wade was not as big a star in 2012 as Kyrie Irving is in 2023, we really have nothing more to discuss. Here's what people need to realize. Kai doesn't need to sell a single pair of his anti-signature shoes in the US in order for the deal to be a success. Your average talking head clown will tell you Kai failed and sold out to China. Last week, I expressed my disappointment that he didn't build his own independent brand after he alluded to such an endeavor for months. But take my personal feelings out of the equation. Kai already won, man. He will be able to do everything he wants to, at least for the first year or so, and follow through on his philanthropic pursuits with the gobs of money Anta is surely giving him to fulfill his vision. It reminds me of when Jon Stewart first approached Trevor Noah about The Daily Show, and Noah initially declined because he was already kind of a big deal across the world. Noah eventually joined The Daily Show and his stock rose in America, but he knew he could bounce at any point in tour and make good money. Kai took a different road that unfortunately included a few rabbit holes, but he's at the spot now where he doesn't really need America to buy his shoes anymore. For decades now, NBA players have been signing with Chinese shoe brands and collecting big checks without having to do a damn thing to sell the shoes stateside. The Anta Kai 1, my best guess is that it'll be spelled Ka11, is going to move a lot of units in China. It'll also sell in the Philippines and in other parts of Asia, in Australia, in Europe, worldwide. Basically everywhere but America. That's the trade-off. Anything they sell in America, that's a bonus. And let's be real here. Is America really ready to buy Anta shoes on a wide scale? Kai might talk about his tribe and all, but let's see who's still really down now that there's no swoosh on those shoes. Okay, so here's a look at Anta's signature line for Klay Thompson. He's 8 entries in, so there's a lot of kicks to choose from. And now here's Gordon Hayward's line that got 4 in the hopper. Maybe you're seeing these for the first time, maybe not. I just thought I'd get you used to seeing what Anta is capable of. Anta also had Kevin Garnett, Rajon Rondo, and others. Outside of hooping, do any of these kicks look appealing to you? I mean, you are watching a show that is mostly about sneakers and sneaker culture, so probably, but do you think the average free thinker who spends half their day defending Kai on social media and genuinely believes that the Nike Job 1 is just a rebranded Kyrie shoe can appreciate these? And now that you've seen those shoes, here's the Anta Shockwave 5, the first shoe that Kai will be wearing this upcoming season. Think kids will be lining up the block to buy these? With only a few months before we see the Anta Kai 1, do we really expect such a breakthrough in design and style that the American Kai devotees will ditch their Nikes and buy Antas? I would love for that to be the case, because it means the Anta Kai 1 is such a banger of a shoe that it changes our perception of basketball shoes, which is going through what seems like a decade-long malaise now. And we can stop talking about Dunks and Jordans and Retros and Yeezys, but I'll believe it when I see it. Also, I can't wait until Kai starts to deep dive into certain topics about the Chinese government like he does every other topic. I'm just going to be interested to see and hear his reaction about that. All right. It's the Heat Check, where we bring you everything that's dropping this week. We have the Palm Tree Crew Puma RSX on July 19th for $120, the Nike Air Max 1 Chili 2.0 on the 20th for $150, the Nike Air Max 1 Golf Play to Live, that's $170, the Nike Dunk Low Clear Jade, that's $110, the Nike Air Max 1 Aquatone on the 21st for $150, the Nike Mac Attack Red Crush, that's going to be $120, the Nike Zoom Freak 5 Multicolor, that's going to be $140, the Reebok Pump Twilight Zone Solar Yellow, that's going to be $170, the Nike Terminator High Kentucky, that's on the 22nd for $120, then the Air Jordan 1 UNC Toe, that's going to be $180. And then for our pick of the week, it's the Salehi Bembury and Crocs Pollock Slide Tashmu, that's going to be on the 20th. According to the Vineyard Gazette in 1958, the word Tashmu is the shortened version of the sentence Kata ko tisi mu, which means there is here a great spring of water in the Native American language. It's also an amusement park in Michigan that existed in 1897 to 1951. All right, let's go to the hot takes. Nike and Deion Sanders are back in business. Somebody cut the check. Somebody cut the check. Shout out to Coach Prime, man. Expect to see Diamond Turf Retros in the OG colorways, but also in Colorado colorways, and probably some based on HBCUs. Not sure if that's appropriate if we're being honest, and since we're being honest, the thing I'm most excited about is the possibility that Deion revisits his iconic 1994 when he was peak prime time. Let's see. He was playing for my San Francisco 49ers the last time we won a Super Bowl and dropping songs like Must Be the Money and the underrated classic Straight to My Feet from the Street Fighter the movie soundtrack featuring MC Hammer and the dancing Jean-Claude Van Damme. I mean, winning Super Bowl as a Niner and chilling with Hammer and Van Damme is about as 90s as it gets. Cortez earned a lot of goodwill when they announced that they were restocking their Air Max 95 collabs with canceled orders from bots. Like, it shouldn't be that big of a deal, right? It's not like brands burned the shoes that they were able to block the bots from buying, but because Cortez made a big deal of it and their devoted fan base ate it up, they won the news cycle. Props to them for identifying an opportunity and running with it. I wish somebody would give me a cookie for every time I posted an episode of Hard Pass or a reel about how awesome, how bad I am at golf. Sorry. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is wearing, I believe the 23 terminology is glazed Timbs between SGA and the megastar L.A. Knight. Yeah. They are truly braving the elements out there wearing Timbs in the summertime. SGA appears to be wearing a patent leather pair of Timbs, which just sounds so wrong. Like, patent leather Timbs is every bit as weird as Flyknit Jordans. Like, you know the phrase, give them something they didn't know they wanted? Yeah, it's like that, but the opposite. So I know somebody threw a bread for at Drake at a concert while the ladies were throwing their underwear at him. That became a whole thing for like a couple of hours a few days ago, but I can't get over the people in the comments who were calling the gesture where Drake pretends to pull out a gun a blicky. Like, what? I know what blicky means, but man, can we not use words that sound like Pac-Man ghosts? It's like when Glizzy started becoming big again, and it turns out it was just about hot dogs. Can't wait until we get on the Fleek bandwagon again after Drip has run its course. Jordan Brand has revealed that they will take in 23 fans on a Travis Scott experience in Egypt if they win the Road to Utopia sweepstakes as part of Scott's Utopia album rollout. That's fine and all, but what I want to know is, what does Nike mean that in order to be eligible, you need to have a Nike account in good standing? Like, if you're a reseller who returns a lot of sneakers because they were alleged bricks, are you disqualified? Do you have to show that you have some self-respect and don't subject yourself to taking L's every week on the sneakers app? Or is it the opposite? The more pathetic your win-loss record, the higher your chances are of winning one of those 23 spots. We need more clarity on this, Nike. Sotheby's is auctioning off a selection of fragment designs Hiroshi Fujiwara's personal collection, including OG pairs of the Air Jordan 1 Royal, samples from his own collabs with Jordan Brand, and many more. Like, man, if Fujiwara-san is within his right to sell his samples of his own work, don't ever let anyone tell you that you're a bad guy for selling your collection. Notice I said selling your collection and not reselling Panda Dunks. Another pair of KD4s is reportedly on the way back. The chatter is that the iconic Weatherman colorway is set to return in the summer of 2024, along with the KD4 Galaxy also potentially coming back next year. We might finally be in the era of the KD retros. Personally, the KD4s should have been getting the retro treatment for years now because they're really the only KDs that have ever really penetrated sneaker culture. Sorry to the KD6, but what I really want to see is a retro of the KD1. Not because I'm dying to wear a pair, but mostly because I want to know they're actually real and not just figments of my imagination in Google image searches. I don't think I've ever actually seen a KD1 in real life. Danielle Fischel, aka Topanga from Boy Meets World, showed off some of her sneaker collection recently. This isn't the first time that she has dabbled in the sneaker culture. Like everybody else, she's not a fan of the sneakers app, but people with really, really long memories might remember the time when the dork who ran the Kicks on Fire Twitter account in 2013 tried to shoot his shot at her to abject failure. For the record, that wasn't me, but I occasionally remind that dork because it's funny and also admirable, I guess. Yeah. And not that I needed confirmation, but it's good to know for sure that Senator Rand Paul doesn't like hip hop after he compared all NIL athletes, even the ones in fringe sports, are barely getting by, to rappers. But even though he's not a rap fan, he clearly knows all the stereotypes and how to broadly generalize all rappers as dudes who drive Rolls and Bentleys. I mean, they drive electric cars too, Senator. And he said all that garbage during a hearing about the PGA and Live merger. Couldn't he find a talking point that we can all agree on, like laughing at the proposal that Greg Norman should be fired if the merger does go through? Speaking of politics getting involved in stuff we like, the Microsoft acquisition of Activision Blizzard cleared a major hurdle when it won its trial against the Federal Trade Commission this past week. There's still the matter of taking care of their issues with the UK Competition and Markets Authority, but it feels like we are one step closer to the most important thing, and that's the comedy of seeing Crash Bandicoot, who was once PlayStation's most visible mascot, on Game Pass. A Fast and Furious roller coaster is coming to Universal Studios Hollywood. It's probably going to stop midway through the ride so The Rock can explain to you why he's cooler than Dom Toretto, call you all candy asses, and then take you on a different ride with Deadpool and Kevin Hart for no reason at all. James Gunn revealed that resident DC Comics jackass Guy Gardner will be a part of his DC movie universe and that he will appear in the 2025 Superman reboot. Man, listen. If you don't know who Guy Gardner is, he's arguably the most punchable face in all of comic books, right next to Cyclops, Jason Todd, and Rob Liefeld. If Superman Legacy is just 2 hours of Supes dunking on Gardner, I will retract every bad thing this show has ever said about Superman. Death Stranding star Mads Mikkelsen still isn't sure what the game he starred in was all about. Welcome to the world of Hideo Kojima, Mads. It's weird here. Some of us have been on this ride since the 90s and we're not quite sure how to get out. I think a lot of us are just afraid because Kojima-san did say one time he wanted to develop a game where if you lost, the disc would disintegrate and that you would have to buy another one to play again. And that sounds kind of awesome, honestly. All right. It's time for this week's Hard Pass, where we take a look at something in the culture that just needs to go, like the reaction online to the first look at Devin Booker's Nike signature debut. So, Sneaker News got the exclusive pics of the shoe that will be called the Nike Book 1, which sounds less like a signature shoe and more like a handbook that they give to new Nike employees in Beaverton. Anyways, we now have our first look at the Book 1 and the second sneaker, possibly called the Craftsman, that may or may not be related to Booker, that will drop in 2025, a year that feels like it's coming up soon and also a lifetime away at the same time. Like, we now have this shoe and the James Gunn Superman reboot to look forward to. And because it's the good folks over at Sneaker News who have shared this info, I think it's pretty safe to assume that this will be the Nike Book 1, a name that I still find kind of funny to say. So, that means the takes are already coming in hot, of course. We've got people calling these 90s inspired, while others are saying they're trash, and others are claiming this is another shoe that was meant for Kyrie that Nike just gave to Booker. So that's now the Nike Jaw 1, the Sabrina 1, and the Book 1 that are just repurposed Kyrie shoes. Yeah, got it. Like, stop it. Even if it is more credible leak since it came from Sneaker News, I still say let's not jump to conclusions and wait until we get official images. We've been burned so many times before. Let's actually learn our lesson from this one. All right, that's going to do it for the show. Thank you for watching Hard Pass. I'm Jacques Slade. I'll see you next week. If you'd like to possibly be featured in a future episode, call us at 818-493-9325. Leave a short message or social media if you want. No more than 30 seconds. All right, I'll see you next week. Peace.